Weight loss plateaus really suck, especially when you feel like you're putting in so much effort and you're just not seeing any return. And what's even worse is when you have absolutely no idea why it's happening. So today I'm sharing the 9 reasons why you could have stopped losing weight, as well as how to fix it. Let's dive into it. My name's Autumn. I'm a certified clinical nutritionist with my master's in nutrition human performance, and today's video is sponsored by Element. More on them in a bit. Okay, the first reason is you could just be simply eating too low of calories. Now, I don't recommend counting calories for weight loss because when you just focus on calories, it actually doesn't address the other factors that lead to long-lasting success. And just simply eating less, especially when you really cut down on what you're eating, can lead to a reduced metabolism, lower muscle mass, increased hunger, increased cravings, all the things that will eventually work against your goals. Now, even if we assume that you went about counting calories the right way and focused on eating protein, you still could just be simply eating way too little, which ultimately results in the body becoming more efficient with its calories. And this efficiency is not what you want when you're looking to achieve a weight loss goal. What it means is that you're able to do the same amount of work with less calories. So let's say you'd cut your calories to 1,500 and you were losing weight. Now suddenly you're able to do the same amount of work with that smaller amount of calories. So now you need to cut your calories again in order to continue losing weight. So you drop it down to 1,300. You break through that plateau, you start to see some progress, and then you start to plateau again. And you can see how eventually this does not become sustainable and you aren't going to be able to continue that progress. And now you have a much slower metabolism at the end. Now, instead, focusing on the right types of foods that help to boost satiety and provide the nutrients the body needs can help the body to naturally burn fat as fuel while also holding on to muscle mass, which then prevents the metabolism from slowing down, which this is a whole topic in itself. So I will have a video linked right up here if you want to dive a little bit deeper into that topic. Okay, the second issue is you're just eating way too little protein. Now, as I mentioned, protein is needed to help hold on to muscle mass, and muscle mass is the thing that helps to determine our metabolism. But we also need enough protein from both a weight loss and a health perspective. The vast majority of the nutrients that your body needs is actually going to be found in protein-rich foods. In fact, there's a study that was done on the most nutrient-dense foods in the world, and almost all of them were from animal-based sources of protein like lamb, eggs, milk, and beef. When we eat enough of these foods, it not only helps our body to hold onto muscle and prevent those plateaus, but it also helps to make us feel full and satisfied so we don't get the hunger and cravings that can also work against a goal. So a good rule of thumb is to aim for about 0.73 grams of protein per pound of body weight. Or in the beginning, you could just aim for about 30 grams of protein at each of your 3 meals, and that's a great place to start. Okay, number 3 has to do with intermittent fasting, and it's that you're fasting too long. Now, you guys know I've been fasting for years. I love it from a gut health perspective, from a metabolic flexibility perspective, but I've also seen a lot of people do it wrong where they start to fast too long. Now, if you've been following my channel for a long time, you know that I am a big advocate of focusing on what you eat when you go to break your fast and making sure that you actually eat enough to support your body's needs. But if your eating window is too small, if you're fasting for like 18, 19, 20, 24 hours, that does not leave enough time to actually physically eat all the food you need in a day. And this is especially true if you're only eating 1 or 2 meals per day. This is when I see it happen the most often. Now, although you could potentially fit all the nutrients you need into 1 or 2 meals, it rarely actually happens. And then you fall into the issue of just simply not eating enough, and that's the first mistake. So if using intermittent fasting, I found a window of about 12 to 14, maybe 16 hours is best for most people. A fasting window, that is. Which, speaking of fasting, it is really important to make sure that you're also getting enough electrolytes too, which is why I love today's sponsor, Element. Element is an amazing electrolyte company that was specifically created with intermittent fasting, lower carb eating, and athletes in mind. It actually contains the sodium, magnesium, and potassium to help replace those lost electrolytes, all without having any sugar. I've been using Element with my intermittent fasting schedule for about 3 years now, and I feel so much more hydrated and so much better when I'm actually taking Element. A lot of people don't realize how much water and sodium we actually lose when we fast. So it is so important to actually replace those, which is why I tend to take 1 to 2 packets of Element every single day. That and Element just tastes so good. Element comes in a lot of delicious flavors like orange and raspberry and citrus, but my all-time favorite is their grapefruit salt. It is so refreshing and so delicious, and I was so excited when they put it into their permanent rotation for flavors. And right now, Element is offering my viewers a free sample pack with any order. That's 8 single-serve packets free with any Element order. It's a really great way to test out all 8 flavors, so you can get yours at drinkelement.com/autumn. It is only available through my link, so make sure to check out drinklmnt.com/autumn. The link will also be in the description down below. Okay, the fourth reason is that you could be eating too much fat. Now, this might perk up some ears of those who have been listening to my channel for a while because obviously I sing the praises of high quality sources of fat. But the mistake that happens is when we fill up on fat before we fill up on protein, because protein is the biggest satiety factor. It is the thing that helps us to feel full and satisfied, whereas fat does also help with that, but it's not as good at that as protein. So if we're eating primarily fat, like with a keto diet that doesn't emphasize eating enough protein, then it is very easy to eat beyond the body's needs of fat. And we do need to have fat with protein. When we combine those two, it does such a great job of actually boosting satiety and preventing cravings and hunger, which makes achieving a weight loss goal so much easier. It's also where a lot of important fat soluble vitamins are going to be found. So we do want the fat. We just want to make sure it is properly balanced with protein. And the way we go about that is first making sure we actually eat the amount of protein our body needs and then eating fat to satiety. So make sure to head back to that second tip for protein amounts if you're unsure on that. Okay, the fifth reason is that you might not be consistent. This specifically has to do with cheat days. Now, what I've seen can happen a lot is we view the weekends as just a full-blown cheat weekend. So it might be like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which ultimately amounts to almost half of the week. And especially if you're treating it as a full day of these treats and you're eating more hyper palatable processed foods, that can reverse a lot of the progress you've made, and it can result in really unstable blood sugar levels and blood sugar crashes that will cause more sugar cravings. Now, treats can definitely be used, but we do need to be wise about it. First of all, we need to make sure that we have treat meals, not days. So having one of the meals, I usually recommend it being dinner, or having like a dessert at the end of the day be the treat and not the entire day. Doesn't mean you can't eat delicious, amazing foods, but the whole day shouldn't be filled with ultra processed and refined foods. And the second really cool things we can do with treat meals is having the protein before the treat. This helps to balance out the blood sugar levels so you don't get as big of a spike and fall when we have that treat. It also makes it so you aren't as hungry going into the treat so that you can be satisfied with less of the treat. Okay, the sixth thing that could be happening is that you're not changing up your meals. This actually occurred to me when I was recently talking to a friend who was looking for some advice on achieving a weight loss goal, and he had mentioned he was focusing on high protein, which is great. It's exactly what you want to be doing when you are looking to achieve a weight loss goal. But then I dug a little deeper and asked what he was eating. And he said that he was basically just taking like bricks of turkey and putting it into an air fryer and just eating that. And I asked him unironically, are you actually enjoying your food? And he was like, nah. Not really, which he did admit led him to craving foods that worked against his goals, and eventually he would give in to those foods. So this is where switching up your foods and focusing on meals that not only support your goals but also taste good is so important. For him, because an air fryer is all he has, I recommended looking into a really great high protein air fryer cookbook to give him some additional ideas. But this is also why I have all my meal plans with a ton of different recipes, as well as new meal plans with new recipes every year. In fact, you can check out my most recent one that I used during my postpartum body recomposition journey. I'll have it pop up right here somewhere. Okay, number 7 is that you have a lot of sugar cravings, which for most people, we ultimately will give in when we have these cravings. Now, sugar cravings are caused by either eating too little protein or having a sugar addiction. And we need to address both of these if you want to prevent those sugar cravings and have those lasting results, which I know can seem crazy and wild to not have sugar cravings if you've been struggling with that your whole life. I was in that same boat. I used to have so many sugar cravings, but it can be quenched. Firstly, by obviously eating enough protein. That is one of the biggest ways to actually help resolve a lot of those sugar cravings. But if you find that you still have sugar cravings after eating enough protein, this is where having a clean slate approach is really helpful. Focusing on protein, fat, and fiber, but then also making sure you cut out all sources of added sugar or really sweet foods to help break that sugar addiction. You can do that on your own by just focusing on protein, fat, and fiber and cutting those foods out. But if you want a little bit more guidance on that, I also have the 7-day detox that is probably like all of my community's favorite program. I'll also have that pop up here somewhere. Okay, number 8 is skipping a meal or grazing at lunch. Now, I have found that lunch tends to be the one that a lot of people will skip or they'll graze. And I am a big advocate for 3-meal day structure. I found that that tends to have the best results. It's the easiest way to actually split up the protein to ensure that you're getting enough of it, which helps to prevent the muscle loss. But on top of that, when we graze, it tends to not be on high protein foods. And I especially see this with a lot of my clients who are moms and especially taking taking care of younger kids, we focus so much on making sure that our kids are getting the food that they need, but then we forget to actually feed ourselves. And we'll end up eating like the leftovers of the kids' food or like some snacks that can be found in the house. And that's where having a really fast and easy lunch can be such a game changer. That's why I love a cottage cheese bowl or Greek yogurt bowl for lunch, because it takes literally seconds to throw together. I have a video with that recipe. If you need that in your toolbox, I'll have it linked right up here. Okay, and the ninth reason is too much cardio. This is actually similar to the same issue as calorie restriction, because cardio just relies on burning calories, and it really relies on burning a lot of calories. That's why people will do a lot of cardio when they're first looking to achieve a weight loss goal, because it is the exercise that burns the most calories per minute. But there's a couple issues with too much cardio. The first is that it doesn't really discriminate where that weight is coming from or where the calorie burn is coming from. It's very easy to lose both fat as well as muscle when we're simply doing a lot of cardio, which then can result in a slower metabolism. But on top of that, you can burn a lot of calories initially when you first start running or doing a lot of cardio, but then something happens with cardio specifically that doesn't happen with other forms of exercise like strength, and that's that the body does become more efficient with its calories, which means that let's say you burned 100 calories for 1 mile when you first started your journey, and now suddenly you're only burning 60 calories per mile. Versus with strength training, it actually focuses on holding onto muscle or even increasing it slightly, which then helps to maintain the metabolism, and actually for a lot of people ends up making the metabolism even faster. So rather than just doing a ton of cardio, you can actually lower the amount of cardio to a couple days per week to still get the heart health benefits, while also adding in a couple days of strength training to get the muscle benefits too. Now, postpartum, I lost 20 pounds with nearly all of it coming from body fat and even increasing muscle mass a bit. So if you want to check out exactly what I did to achieve those goals, you can find it with this video next. Also, if you're new to my channel and you love this science-backed information, make sure you subscribe right here. Come out new videos every Tuesday and Thursday. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in my next video.